hard to move it all in this chair. I was trying to do like a little jig for the intro or some shit. Welcome back, punk rockers, to another episode of Brandawg's broadcast. It's been like 2 weeks since the last one because shit just didn't work out. I was kind of planning on doing a guest episode with my friend and co-host, I guess, Driss from Auburn Rats, but we haven't recorded anything in a minute, so we haven't gotten a chance. Been busy with other shit right now, and I've been also on the weekends. I've been out a lot more. There's been a lot of movies coming out too that I've been going to see, and there's gonna be even fucking more. There's so many movies coming out this summer, and the one that I obviously just saw, so let's get into it before I waste too much time, was James Gunn's Superman. And as you can see, I got my little Superman figurine buddy guy sitting right there. Hold on, this mic is kind of in the way. But as you can see, I got Superman right here doing a little wave, not an Elon Musk situation. He's just waving at you. Unlike Elon, this guy is actually waving. But Batman's also over there because why not? He's always there anyway, I think. I did want to put like one of the movies, like the Blu-rays, in front of all of them, but then I realized I wanted to do Richard Donner's original Superman just because, you know, it's Superman, it's the classic one, and turns out I don't have that movie on Blu-ray. I really thought I did for some reason, but for some reason I do have Man of Steel because it was gifted to me. I think I do have that one. And I didn't feel like getting that one out because I don't know, it's fucking packed away in a box somewhere right now, and I don't feel like looking for it. And then I could have also got my Superman comics out, but it was kind of the same sitch. So maybe I'll do that at some point, just show off some of the comics I have, just because I guess I'm not like a great comic collector. It's very on and off for me, and I don't do it. Oh, why the fuck did you chill out, camera? I don't do it very often. And I don't really buy like the way you should, I guess. I don't really do it in any certain way. There's just this one comic shop in like a city not far from me that sells like $1 comics, and that was kind of always where I went because fucking obviously you can get so many comics for just like $20 even. That's 20 comics right there, dude. It was great. So I kind of just have a little bit of everything. I think the most complete collection of like comics in a series I have is probably Blue Beetle. It's not completely done because Blue Beetle is kind of like, it's not like it's obscure and old and hard to find. It's just not as commonplace. So you got to go to like proper comic shops, not just like a hobby type nerd store type thing, which is where I got most of my other comics. To find Blue Beetle, I actually had to go to this like super fucking cool place. I can't remember what it was called or where it was even, but it was kind of also a hobby shop in that sense. It was like half comics and old stuff like that, and then the other half was just like D&D related stuff or other things in that spectrum, probably like Magic's the Gathering or something. But they had this huge room full of filing cabinets that had displays and shelves on top that would be lined with comics and action figures and stuff, but then in all of these huge filing cabinets at the bottom was just like a coherent A through fucking Z list of all different types of comics that you could find. And I managed to find quite a few Blue Beetle comics there and bought them immediately. So I can't remember the name of the run off the top of my head, but it's like, I believe it's like the second or third run of like Blue Beetle comics, because there hasn't been a whole lot with like the Jaime Reyes character. He's only existed for almost 20 years now, I think next year, but like that's still not enough time for him to have like a super full catalog of old things, but I have one of them. Anyway, that's not really the point. So the point of all that was to say I do have a lot of Superman comics, but they don't really have a whole lot to do with each other. It's just kind of random Superman comics that I picked up from there. A lot of them are like 90s Superman where he has the mullet, and I don't know how people feel about that era of Superman. People might not like it or something. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that before in the past. What? Chill the fuck out, camera. Why is it doing that today? But I like it a lot of what I've read anyway. It's a very fucking insane little experience, and I've been enjoying those. I really enjoy the one where he fights Parasite and gets sucked into a goddamn raisin. But yeah, after fucking like 2.5 years of waiting for this movie, it's finally fucking out. James Gunn's Superman. I remember when this got announced and it was still called Superman Legacy. That's how early I've been on this hype train. Alright, I saw Cosmonaut call himself the conductor. If anything, I was the goddamn conductor. Someone else was, and I was shoveling the fucking coal because I was there like moment fucking 1 second that they announced that James Gunn would be doing a Superman. I was there for it. And I didn't love the name Superman Legacy at first, but it kind of grew on me, and then they abandoned it for just Superman, which makes sense, but I kind of missed that name. Maybe we'll see it again sometime. It kind of grew on me. But yeah, I've been hyped for this for 2.5 years, and that means I also, back when I still used Twitter, I quit using Twitter like a year ago now. Back when I still used Twitter, for that whole time, all I saw was like very angry Zack Snyder or Henry Cavill fans about the new Superman coming out, and I'm sick of it, because I know there's like normal people who like those movies and just like them and aren't mean as fucking hateful to everybody who likes different things or like new adaptations of the same thing. But some of them are just fucking. What I'll say about Zack Snyder fans, or like the Snyderverse fans anyway, is I don't really understand what they're mad at anyway, because they act like James Gunn came in and took a fucking battle axe and just decapitated this like well-loved, super popular franchise. But like the DCEU was already fucking pretty much dead before James Gunn had come into it. It was losing hype around like 2019, 2020 era after so many bad movies and like 2 good ones. Everybody was losing their patience. Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill had kind of been out for years. There's a reason that Henry's face wasn't even in Shazam. He was only brought back very briefly out of desperation in Black Adam, because they were hoping Black Adam would be like this big fucking new thing, and The Rock would be like the face of DC. The power has shifted at DC, or whatever the hell he says. That didn't happen at all. But Henry Cavill had kind of been out before that for a while, because I think he was kind of rightfully upset that they weren't really doing anything new with his character. They gave him like 1 solo movie, and then they were like, okay, that's it. And Ben Affleck, I think he has long since lost interest in doing his Batman movie. I do remember seeing years ago, it's like him saying that he was pretty much fucking done with that shit and trying to make that movie happen and make it work with Warner Bros. And all this stuff. It was just it was driving him crazy. So I think he just wanted out of there. And Zack Snyder himself, he has expressed the fact that he is pretty much done with DC and probably superhero movies for a long time. He got super lucky and got to make the like full extended version of his Justice League the way he originally wanted it, which was something that I think people forget was never meant to happen in the first place. You were not meant to see that movie originally. The only reason it happened was because people fought for it, and the studio caved, probably like once in a lifetime experience where a big studio has caved about a blockbuster like this and let somebody come back and finish their creative vision after so many years. Like, it was a miracle that movie ever happened to begin with. And I knew it was going to be a problem when one of my friends at the time that I was watching it with was like, oh man, I can't wait for the next one. And I was like, there's not going to be a next one. I thought we all knew that going in, that this, like, we're lucky that came out and that it was pretty good. But there was never going to be a Justice League Part 2 at that point. And like I said, it seems like Zack Snyder himself is pretty much done and like retiring DC as a thing that he wants to do. He's very much already moved on to other projects that he's more interested in. And to be honest, some of these people who say that they're like big Zack Snyder fans when they're more Snyderverse fans, I don't think a lot of them have even like seen Rebel Moon or anything. So are you really that big of a fan of the guy as you claim if you won't watch any of his fucking other movies? Some of them probably don't even know what his first movie was. How many of them have seen fucking Dawn of the Dead? His best movie. I fucking said it. I said it. Sure, 300's also pretty good, but like Dawn of the Dead is fucking peak. I love that movie. It's not nearly as good as the George Romero original, obviously, but I fucking love Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. It is so visually fun and exciting, and I really wish that he would make more movies like that again. I don't necessarily mean like Army of the Dead, because I know that was another zombie movie, but that didn't really fill the void or feel that much of the same as what I liked about Dawn of the Dead. In fact, it kind of was everything I didn't like about Dawn of the Dead in one movie. But now that I said I wouldn't ramble on about other shit, and I have, let's talk about the movie on its own face value, because there's going to be haters no matter what. And even though this movie is really, really good, it still has haters already. Like, people have been hating this movie since it was announced 2.5 years ago, and they still hate it now that it's out. Let's talk about James Gunn real quick, because I'm a pretty big fan of James Gunn. I don't really keep that a secret. He hasn't let me down with a superhero project before, and honestly, at this point, I don't think he will. The Guardians trilogy is probably my personal favorite of all the MCU trilogies. Suicide Squad is one of my favorite superhero or like comic book movies, I guess, because it just feels so much like a comic book, and this one even more so than that, honestly. And Peacemaker itself is like probably one of my favorite superhero adaptations ever, like any type of media. I thought that was going to be just like a fun, funny show, and it was so uniquely its own and exciting and well crafted and thought out that I was like, holy shit, this might be my favorite superhero TV show ever. I don't know if it is like 3 years later, but it's definitely up there, and I'm very, very excited for season 2 in a couple months. When it got announced that James Gunn was going to be one of the new co-CEOs of DC along with Peter Safran, I was very excited for that, because it just made sense to me to take this guy who gets it right just about every fucking time that he works with these things. He understands and even loves the source material and wants to do it justice with his movies, and he easily made probably the best DCEU movie, which, you know, the Suicide Squad, in my opinion, might be the best one out of all the bunch. It's just the most coherent and like, it just works. To quote how am I forgetting his name? To quote Mr. Bethesda, man, it just works. I almost said Neil Breen. That's not the same fucking person at all. Oh my god. However, maybe Neil Breen looks like he could be the father of the guy who runs Bethesda. Again, I can't remember his name. Todd Howard. Fuck, there it is. I'm very excited for his vision of DC and the fact that he is clearly prioritizing like hand-picking really good directors and writers to just kind of let their creative vision flow and make a fun-ass superhero movie like we haven't really seen before. This is the type of shit that people have been wanting from stuff like Marvel even. It's just like, give us something crazy, give us something unique. The reason you get stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy isn't because you keep following the same formula. The reason Guardians of the Galaxy works so much is because it was so different than anything the MCU had put out at the time. And now they've been trying to kind of replicate that for years, I feel like. But instead of trying to replicate that, you should move on to something new. I haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, but I kind of hear that that's kind of what it is. It's just like a more classic spy thriller MCU, the type of thing the fans have wanted for a while. And the slate of movies he has coming out so far get me so excited. I can't wait for fucking Clayface, and Supergirl's gonna be so fun, and Swamp Thing is probably gonna be great. I'm very excited for Andy Muschietti's Brave and the Bold. I feel like Andy Muschietti kind of exists in that category of, I've talked about before, but directors who people think are bad because they made one movie that they didn't like or whatever. Like, The Flash has probably permanently dented that dude's reputation as a director, which is unfortunate, because I personally think from the few movies that he has made, he's shown some pretty fucking good qualifications. Like, he somehow made it. He took one of Stephen King's densest, most fucking full and packed full of characters books that just like you can clearly tell he was on drugs when he wrote, because it's all over the place sometimes. He took that and he somehow made it into two pretty cohesive and good movies. I even like the second one. I'm not really sure why that one gets as much hate. I think it's because Andy Muschietti put more of his signature on that one, and his signature from the Judging by the Flash, and it is just like insane wacky comedy that doesn't always land, but when it does, it's like so strange that it just kind of works. And I kind of respect how he just doesn't care about that shit. He's like, yes, when this leper monster is puking on the actor, I would like the song Just Call Me Angel to be playing in the background. I think that would be very funny. I knew I liked him from that like Bill Hader clip. I'll just show it because it's funny. I'll just show that.
But there is a scene, I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the movie, where we're drunk and we're having fun, and Andy has this big microphone, and he's going like, all right, now Bill, dance, get up and dance, like Dirty Dancing, get up like Dirty Dancing right now. And I'm like, what? It's not in the script. So I'm like, Dirty Dancing? He goes, yes, be like Dirty Dancing. Remember, like Dirty Dancing, Patrick Swayze. Be like Patrick Swayze, lifting Jennifer Grey up in the air. And we all lost it. We're like, it's Swayze, you idiot. That'll show him. Yeah.
And a lot of people have been nervous about him doing a Batman movie, but I'm personally excited because his Batman-related like action was easily the best part of the Flash movie. And one of the things that I did praise the Flash movie for was that it never felt predictable. Even though it was following a plotline that we all kind of know, it was one of the more unique superhero movies I've seen in a long time, in the sense that it tried so many things and it didn't always work, but it very much tried to be something different than we had seen before. And like it felt like a comic book in that sense, even if it like sometimes comic books can be bad. And I think that was just a weird, strange comic that's not canon to the Flash. That's what it feels like. But yes, James Gunn kicked off the DCU. James Gunn kicked off the DCU last year with Creature Commandos, and now this year we got Superman, and the first official DCU movie. And I can't think of a better way to start it. First of all, I'll just say it. I love this movie. Obviously, I think it was great. I thought the visuals were so much fun. The action was fun. David Cornsweet is one of my favorite Supermans I've seen, probably. I don't really know exactly how that ranking looks for me personally, because I've never thought about it that much. But he's up there. He's up there with the fucking Justice League Superman for me, because goddamn, that was easily my favorite as a kid. He brings so much charisma and charm to the role that he's just innately likable. Even if you haven't seen this guy in any other movies before or anything, you just immediately cling to him. It's one of the, like, everyone's been saying it, but it's true. It's one of those things where you just look at this casting and you're watching this movie and you go, yeah, that's fucking Superman, 100%. He looks like Superman. He sounds like Superman. He acts like Superman, because this movie was written by somebody who actually likes Superman. And personally, overall, the Superman movies, I think this one might be my favorite. My rankings of those do change a lot, because when I made my original video like 2 years ago, Superman Returns was my favorite, I think, but I'd only seen it a couple times at that point. And Superman Returns has unfortunately become one of those movies that I like less every time I watch it now. I think it was just like refreshing to see, because it felt the most in tune with like the hope and heart of the character for me out of any of the Superman movies. But I think if I was to redo that list, I would say Superman 1 and 2 are top 2, and then Superman Returns would be third place. And if I was redoing that original list. But now, with the context of this new movie, I think this is my favorite Superman movie, and that could just be recency bias speaking, of course. But for the longest time, it was Richard Donner's, just because it's a very simple and dated in some aspects movie, but it's the most accurate and just straightforward depiction of Superman I feel like I've seen in a live action movie at that point. It worked. Like, they clearly had a vision, and they did exactly that, and it works just fine. It's a very feel good, heartfelt movie that's just a lot of fun to watch. And Superman 2 isn't as good, but it's fucking insane, and it's probably more entertaining at times just due to the fact that there's actually action in that one. But this is probably this is probably my favorite Superman movie as of right now, just because of how this one just spoke. It obviously, I don't think it was as good as I was expecting it to be, but to quote Cosmonaut again, I don't fucking think anything could have possibly lived up to my expectations. My expectations for like what the perfect Superman movie looks like are so fucking high, so high, that like I don't think anybody could hit it, and I don't know why those expectations are so high. I just feel like there is that potential for Superman, but this one is really, really fucking good. I love this movie. It's easily my favorite of all of them, like I said, as of right now, just because it felt the most like a comic book for once. It felt like reading an issue of Superman, because now people cannot call this character boring anymore. He might not be for you, but he's certainly not boring, and I think a lot of the reason people thought he was boring was just because of the way his movies were in the past. You know, a lot of people didn't watch his cartoons, and a lot of people don't read the Superman comics. They've only seen the movies, and if all you have to go off of is like Richard Donner's kind of more generic, just like polite Superman, and Zack Snyder's stoic God Superman, then you probably won't be that interested in him. I wasn't that interested in him until I became a teenager and started reading these Superman comics more and getting more into the character, that I understood finally, like, oh yeah, Superman's cool as fuck. That's why I used to love him when I was like a little kid. I don't know why I stopped at some point. And this outside of like the Spider-Verse movies maybe, is probably the most comic book movie I've ever fucking seen. There's so many characters and there's so much shit going on, but somehow it manages to balance all of it, which is one of the strongest strengths of like comics, I think. Always has been. There's always something happening in comics. There's never a dull moment, and that's kind of how this movie feels too. He's wearing the Superman costume for a majority of this movie, and he actually fucking fights things. They finally hit the good middle ground that everybody's been waiting for, between like the nice Boy Scout Superman of the old films and the high intensity Dragon Ball ass action of Man of Steel. We finally got a middle ground that delivers on both of them, and it doesn't just prioritize one over the other. Because while I still kind of like Superman Returns, I can understand that is one of the biggest criticisms of that movie, and I can understand why, because the action is very fucking lackluster, because there just fucking isn't any action, essentially. There's some cool Superman moments where he does stuff like save people or catch a plane and all that shit, but he doesn't throw like a single punch in that movie, probably, and it's just kind of strange. And goddamn, I'm so glad that they just like let Superman fucking save people. That's all this motherfucker be doing in the comic books, and they finally let him do it in a movie. I never understood why people acted like he couldn't do both. That was always kind of like the thing of Superman, is that even though it's really fucking hard, he's gonna do the most in everything he can do. There's people, he's got to fight like a Zod or something, you know? And there's people in this building over here who are about to die, fall to their death and die. He has to go save them. He's gonna try to do both. He's not just gonna be like, I can't save those people, I gotta fight Zod right now so he doesn't hurt more people. That was what Man of Steel essentially was. Like a building would just blow up behind him and he would go like, ah, fuck. There was probably people in there. I really wish I could do something about it. Whenever people complained about the ending of that movie and the insane chaos and destruction that happens, people always got defensive and been like, oh, but that happens in every superhero movie. What, the city can't get destroyed? That's part of it. Nobody's saying that the city can't be destroyed. It just matters how you do it and how the superhero handles that. In this movie, they take, it's literally like 30 seconds. It's probably not even a full minute shot of like cars leaving, but they show like more than half of the fucking city evacuating, as you know they would if some crazy thing like a black hole opening up was happening. And they wouldn't just stand around and watch like they did in Man of Steel. They would fucking leave. So a lot of them leave, and the people who are still in the city, Superman saves whenever they're in danger. He goes out of their way to save them. At one point in this movie, he fucking saves a squirrel. He just, there's like a squirrel nearby and like the place that they're fighting, that's why they get killed by something, and he just like swoops down and fucking saves it. That's how much this dude gives a shit about everything and everybody. And that was one of the moments too where I knew James Gunn really got Superman and wanted to do him justice with this movie, was during that scene of the evacuation where he catches that whole fucking building for a second and lets that woman drive away. And as she's driving away, she looks back and you can see him emerge from the dust all stoically and cool or whatever. And a lot of people were making jokes that he was like aura farming or something, or that it was just to look cool. But I kind of saw it as like he was looking to make sure that she made it off safely. Like he didn't know if his job was done yet. And that's the most Superman shit ever to me. He just looks cool while he's doing these things. You know, he's not like he's necessarily trying to be super cool. While he's doing these things, he just looks cool and is cool, because it's cool to be nice. It's actually punk rock to be nice, according to Superman. And I thought that was a very good way to sum up his morals and just the way he is as a person. They also can really hone in on something that I and so many other people have been arguing for years now, which is the fact that Superman's human element is what's stronger than like his alien thing. Like he is way more one of us than he is a Kryptonian. And people have been trying to argue that for years or whatever, but like you can't, I mean, you just have to like look at the fucking comics for 5 seconds and you will see that that is inherently true, that he is 100% a human at the end of the day. He is a Kryptonian human pretty much, because he's an immigrant from space, but there is nothing of like his home life that gets carried over except for like the legacy of Krypton and like his parents' wish for him to go help people or whatever, even though it kind of might not be what he thinks. Oh no, it might not be what he thinks. But Superman was raised by humans. He acts like a human. He gets his heart broken. He cares about things. He thinks things are funny. He does everything a person does because he was raised by people too, really great, caring people too. So I can never understand this perspective that Superman should act like a stoic, confused, distant alien or something, because this is his home. He grew up here. He should know what the fuck it's like. And I thought it was really brave and cool, this movie, to use the fact that Superman is essentially just an immigrant from space as kind of like a social commentary about the current fucking state of this country and how people have this like baseless hatred and fear of anybody who migrated from a different country over to here. And I think it's very cool and brave of James Gunn to tackle such a serious and heavy, important and relevant topic as that one in a movie that's about superheroes. You know, it's a big blockbuster action movie that a lot of people are going to go see, and he's over here making fucking social commentary, and that's actually really cool and a great way to use the character, because Superman has kind of always been used for social commentary, whether people like that fucking Dean whatever the hell from the 90s wants to think or not. Superman has always kind of stood for that shit. He used to fight the fucking KKK, for Christ's sake. Like, Superman has always had a political twinge to him, and he's definitely not a conservative. And this is something I was kind of wondering from all the trailers, but I didn't know if they would actually do it, because this is a big blockbuster superhero movie, like I just said. So I kind of assumed that they wouldn't go that far, but they actually did. They kind of fucking just tackled the genocide happening to Palestine right now that Israel is conducting. They just completely dove into it. All they really did was change the names of the countries to make them fictional, and like gave the Netanyahu, whatever the fuck his name is, some frizzy Albert Einstein looking hair to kind of differentiate them. But they really did go there, and it was cool as fuck and brave as fuck that they were willing to tackle a topic so heavy, and that Superman is pretty much saying exactly what everyone's been saying in fucking real life for. I thought that was really cool, and not only is it cool that a movie of this scale has so much to say about the world, and it's so like in your face with its messaging, but it also sets a really good standard for the future of these movies and like the creative limitations of DC, because if they're willing to go that far and tackle topics that are this divisive for people, then who knows what the fuck they're willing to do in these movies. Like, who knows how crazy and cool and just free these fucking movies can be, pretty much. Like, the directors can essentially do whatever it wants. I mean, whatever they want, as long as it works. And it seems like it really will, that they keep this momentum up. Because just imagine, like, what a lot of these movies could say with their messaging if done well. And there has been more politically inclined superhero movies before that are maybe not as much political, but they do have stuff to say and it works. So, like, why can't more have stuff to say, you know? But I love that a lot. Let's talk about the actual let's talk about the comic booky aspect of it now that we've talked about the messages. It's because it's still a superhero movie at the end of the day, and it's still a damn good one as well. It's a fun-ass movie from beginning to end. One of my only complaints really is that the pacing is a little slow compared to some of James Gunn's other films. This movie's only like 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it feels like 2 hours and 20 minutes at times, I'm not gonna lie. The action was great, and the way that they incorporated all of these other DC characters was fun too. The Justice Gang was obviously a lot of fun. Guy Gardner, I'm so glad that he's in a fucking movie for once. I'm glad that Green Lanterns are gonna get some attention, and it's not just gonna be fucking Hal Jordan for once. I like Hal Jordan, but it's always fucking Hal Jordan, and I can't wait for that show that's gonna feature both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart as like a buddy cop Green Lantern thing, because that will be fucking rad. But Guy Gardner's so much fun. Nathan Fillion knocks it out the fucking park in this movie. He's good in everything he is. To be honest, he was my fan casting for Kite Man, like back when they first announced the whole DCU and all that stuff. I thought it would be fun if they did like a Kite Man, like kind of like a live action comedy / drama thing, like they like kind of like in the vein of Peacemaker but with Kite Man, and I wanted them to call it Kite Man Hell Yeah, and I wanted them to cast Nathan Fillion in it, and I even started writing a pilot episode just for the fun of it, just to kind of like picture what that show would look like for me. And then like a couple months later, maybe not even a couple months, just like immediately after almost, Nathan Fillion gets cast as Guy Gardner in the DCU, which fair enough, good casting. And then they announced that they are making a show called Kite Man Hell Yeah, but it's an animated spin-off of the Harley Quinn show. So I don't have any fucking interest. I'm sorry, but what I've seen of the Harley Quinn show, I'm not huge on, because it really seems like that style of like animated adult cartoon that I just can't stand, where it's just people saying fuck and like making dick jokes every 5 seconds. Like, it's the DC equivalent to like Hazbin Hotel, you know, or Hell of a Boss or some fucking shit like that. Get fucking vile in the back of my throat just from thinking about it. And this movie is pretty funny. I don't think it's as funny as James Gunn's other movies, and I don't think it needed to be. I think it was just trying to be more lighthearted and charming, and he kind of had to fit his humor back into that PG-13 scope like he did with the Guardians films, so it can't be as loose and as insane as it is in Peacemaker, which is probably his funniest writing. But they do cuss a lot in this movie, which caught me off guard for a PG-13 movie, and a lot of the jokes were pretty fun. But ultimately, I don't think this movie was trying to be like a comedy or anything, or focus too much on being funny. I think it was just trying to be fun and lighthearted in that sense, because the Superman comics do have this like comedic tone about them sometimes. People like to make jokes and goof around. Those characters are not all stoic and serious. It's not like a Batman comic or something. But the other, yeah, like I said, the Justice Gang was great. Hawkgirl was great. I loved her scene where she killed that fucking piece of shit. Not gonna spoil it if you haven't seen it, I guess, but she fucks somebody up at the end. And I really liked Mr. Terrific. I've always kind of liked Mr. Terrific, but I wouldn't call myself like a Mr. Terrific fan. I just don't know that much about him to be able to say that, and I haven't really read any of his comics, but I do know of the Terrifics, and I think it's a pretty cool team from what I know. And it's cool to see so many people liking a character that's not as popular like that, because James Gunn has always been good at that. Like, he'll take someone like Peacemaker and then make them fucking beloved by so many people, and his cameo in this movie was a lot of fun. And it also makes me excited because I saw a lot of people demanding a Mr. Terrific spinoff, but I think what's more likely to happen is a Terrifics spinoff with the whole fucking gang, and I can't wait to see that, because as much as I like Mr. Terrific too, that is also like the most direct way that I can get Plastic Man and being in the DCU, and that needs to happen. I need him to be in the DCU. I need Plastic Man to be in a fucking movie. I'm so sick of that excuse that like Marvel and other companies used to make, where they're like, oh, we can't make the stretching powers look good, and then when they do, they look fine. It's like, why the fuck are you so afraid of doing stretching characters? I think that One Piece live action show just like set a standard, and Marvel got kind of fucking embarrassed and then decided to like greenlight Fantastic Four ASAP. And aside from all the characters I just named, I think about just about all the casting in this movie is fucking phenomenal. Rachel Brosnahan, in the way that David Corenswet is Superman, she fucking is Lois Lane. She 100% hits the nail on the head for how I think this character would act and would speak and would treat her friends and stuff. And she delves into both sides of that character very well too, because much like Superman, there's two sides of Lois Lane. There's the very business heavy, serious, investigative journalist side that is willing to do whatever it takes to get the truth out and get justice and all that shit. And then there's the other half of her, which this movie put it well by saying, if she was like a punk rock girl or whatever, she's just a likable fucking person who's a lot of fun and has a lot of energy, and is it's one of those things where you can understand why Superman would like her so much. Jimmy Olsen, I can't remember the actor's name right now, I'm sorry, but I believe it's Skylar something. Phenomenal casting. I've liked that kid and everything else I see him in. I say kid as if he's not almost 30. He just looks young. But I've liked him in just about everything else I've seen him in. I think he's funny as fuck in this movie and perfectly captures that like charming Jimmy Olsen vibe or whatever. I'm not going to make one of those ginger side jokes because that shit's so corny to me, but I bet there were some redheads who were mad about that. We gotta chill about this stuff, guys. I who the fuck cares if they're not? I've never once been like, oh no, that ginger character got casted by someone who wasn't. I don't give a fuck. And Jimmy Olsen is a fucking player in this, and I love that so much. His phone contacts list is just filled with different women with different nicknames that he's given them, and he can't even walk down the street without fucking women hurling themselves at him, essentially, and it is so fucking funny. I heard whispers of some kind of Jimmy Olsen spin-off series, and I am completely here for it. And I'm so glad that some of the other Daily Planet people got some recognition in this movie for once. They weren't in it as much, but it was nice to see more than just like Jimmy and Lois Lane and Perry for once. Cat Grant and Steve are finally in a Superman movie. I don't think they've ever been in one before, and I don't know why. They're not like super important to Superman always, but they're very fun side characters that get utilized well in stuff like My Adventures with Superman. Steve does anyway. I don't know if Cat's actually in that one, I can't remember. And they're not in this movie that much, but it's just nice to see them, and they are charming and funny when they do have lines to say. Like one of Steve's lines near the end of the movie easily got some of the most laughs in the movie theater out of any of the jokes when they were taking off of Mr. Terrific ship, and all he said was like, why don't I have a chair? That made quite a few people in my theater chuckle. And last but certainly not least, probably best even, is, oh my god, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I've always liked Nicholas Hoult as an actor, and when he got cast as Lex Luthor, I was like, oh, that should be interesting. I wanted to see how he'll do. It'll probably be pretty good. And I don't think I expected him to be possibly the best live action Lex Luthor. Some people get mad when people say that because they like the guy from Smallville. I haven't personally seen Smallville. I'm sure he's great, but out of like any of the movies, this is pretty easily the best one. This dude is the most hater fucking supervillain probably put in a movie ever. The dude is just despicably evil, and he hates everything about Superman just because, and it works so fucking wonderfully. Nicholas Hoult knocks it out of the park with this performance. And this is probably the first Superman movie, like live action one, where you see Lex Luthor get his fucking shit wrecked at the end of the movie. He always loses, but one of the things that always bothered me about the old like Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman movies is like the fact that he would stop Lex Luthor at the end, but he would never fucking just beat on the motherfucker a little bit, because Lex Luthor is a great villain, But he's one of those villains that you want to see get their ass get kicked because he's so fucking despisable at times. And this movie knocked it out of the park with that. Watching, I literally cheered out loud for a second. Like, I was like, yeah, in the middle of the theater when Superman punched through that window and threw Lex Luthor across the fucking room. That was, like, that got me so excited. That fucking went all the way back to me as a kid watching those old movies and going, beat the fuck out of him. And the most that you get in the old Superman is, like, him picking up Lex Luthor and dropping him onto another couch, like, 6 feet away. The fuck is that? I kicked the shit out of that guy. He's a dweeb. And you also get to see him be horribly maimed by fucking Crypto, which was very fun. He even gets some fucking bones and stuff broken. Very fun. Nice to see him just get his shit wrecked as he fucking deserves. He never does. He always just gets arrested in these movies. That little pipsqueak got it for once. I could probably go on and on forever, but as this one's already been going on for about the time that I go on, so I'll save some of that for another time because as with 28 years later, I plan to have a discussion with Gabriel on the podcast before long about both of these movies whenever he gets the chance to see 28 years later. He's seen Superman already. He saw it before I did, and he liked it a lot too, I can tell you that much. But so yeah, whenever that will be, we'll talk more about Superman and the future of the DCU 28 years later, obviously, and just probably whatever other movies that are coming out that we liked. And I hope you enjoyed this review of Superman and this episode of Brandawg's broadcast. Let me know what you thought about James Gunn's Superman. I hope they make a Superman 2. They probably fucking will, because this movie's already been pretty fucking successful. And I can't wait. I can't wait. That's all I'm going to say. I cannot wait to see where the DCU is going to go after this, because this was a very, very good standard to set for yourself as your first ever movie. This is like, this is drawn in so many more people than I expected it to. I was honestly worried for a while there, especially back in 2023 when every movie DC put out was like kind of flopping. Like Blue Beetle just barely made its money back and then some, just enough for him to be saved and spared into the DCU now, and he's going to get his own animated show, I believe, but he's not going to get a Blue Beetle 2 anytime soon, which is unfortunate. But at least he'll be back, and he'll be in other movies too at some point, I'm sure. But I was seeing all that happen, especially with something like The Flash. I was a little nervous that Superman might not be able to fucking pull in the big bucks, and that Batman is just like the only thing from DC people care about at this point. But it seems like I might have been wrong, and that's a pretty good fucking feeling, because I want to see more of just everything. I don't want just Batman. I don't want there to just be one shitty Flash movie nobody liked. I want a new Flash. I want fucking so much DC shit to happen, and I think people starting to pay attention and caring is really what's going to make that happen. And it's cool to see so many people start to care about Superman, something that I've thought was cool for fucking years now. People are finally starting to realize that he's not just that stoic, boring hero that they always knew about but never really cared about. He's actually somebody worth paying attention to, and it's just very nice to see it all happen, and I'm very excited. I guess I'll give this a number rating since I technically didn't. It's hard. I'm going to go 9 out of 10. I don't want to say 10, because obviously I didn't think it was like a perfect movie, and it's not my favorite James Gunn movie, but I think Superman 2, especially with everything they've probably learned from this one, will be exactly what I was looking for like years in a Superman movie. But for as of right now, this is as close as it's going to get, and it's also just a really great movie. So yeah, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 all day, baby. Love this movie.